So they are both successful authors in their own right, but together they've created a children's empowerment workshop, which teaches kids that beauty, strength, and kindness comes from within. Welcome to My Kind Canadians. This week, I've got Lori, Burt, and Margot Denommé. Hey, ladies, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us.
I'm so happy to have you. I have so many questions about this workshop. What a fantastic idea. So I'm going to start with you, Margot. I know that Be Kind is usually geared towards celebrities. So we're trying to highlight their charitable works. But today we're going to take a couple steps backwards and talk about kids and teaching kids to be kind to others, and of course, to be kind to themselves. So what tips and techniques would you use to empower kids to be kind and then to grow into adults that volunteer their time and talents?
Well, loaded question, but let me just scale back a little bit and tell you exactly why I came to write the books that I wrote for children. And again, in the kindness regime, that's kind of where I began. So what happened was I was raising my two daughters and they were about 7 and 9. And I realized just how inundated they were with images of social media and basically comparing themselves to actresses that didn't even exist because they're all photoshopped images. And the more I started to watch this, the more I thought this has to have some type of negative impact on their self-image, their self-esteem. And with that, I have worked as a criminal lawyer for over 20 years. So I see the results of low self-esteem and low self-image in the courts every day. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a tool so that at night, parents, grandparents can go to bed talking to kids about basic old-fashioned values, such as kindness, walking through their day. What did they do that day to make themselves, because it's not only kindness to others, it's self-love and kindness to themselves. So that's what ultimately happened and how I came to write Mommy Am I Pretty in 2013.
And the message is that pretty isn't outside only.
No, absolutely.
It's very much inside.
Absolutely. It's creating. George Bernard Shaw was a playwright who said, life is not about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And in my mind, that is from the inside out. Basically, were you kind? Were you thoughtful? What did you do to make yourself feel good today? Did you develop a passion? What did you do? And when I go to the schools, I created what I call the Celebrate You Tour. And I've been up to over 200 schools now speaking to kids. And one of the things that I really have them emphasize is I get them to stand up and they say, I said, what did you do to be kind today? Well, every hand in the room goes up. Everybody wants to share what they did to be kind. So when you ask about what we can do to get kids energized about kindness, that's the type of thing. But I think we have to do it early and often.
Early and often, and praise them and show by example, I find is very helpful as well. Because you can talk to someone and tell them to be kind, but if you show them how to be kind, I think that is the key. What do you think, Lori? You there, Lori?
I am. It's my internet is not stable. I'm stable, but it's not.
So, Lori, now I love the concept of the superpowers that you bring up in the book, and it's so easy for kids to relate to. Now, when you're teaching, you create a safe space in your yoga practice where kids can kind of explore their emotions and see if they can kind of transform the negative ones into more positive ones. How do you find that kindness plays a role in your practice?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm a big advocate for being kind and kindness. It sort of the practice of yoga and mindfulness, a big part of that is incorporating kindness into your life. So it's interesting. One of the final meditations in the book is the Namaste Kindness meditation. And it's just, I think that your point about being kind to yourself, you have to really focus on learning how to be kind to yourself before you can be kind to others. And so I think the practice with kids that we do, we really focus on allowing them to feel and accept their emotions and their feelings. So not to try to change them, but to try to become aware of what they're feeling, why and how is it making them feel, and then maybe having a little practice or a tool to move to the other side of that experience. So that's really what yoga and meditation does for adults. But funnily enough, it works even better for kids because they're just so open to the concepts and really getting into their breath and the movement. And, I think that just to conclude that the answer to that question is just really being able to tap into a place where you feel comfortable and confident to feel your feeling, express it, know it's okay, and find a way to move through that moment with kindness and grace.
Yeah. What do kids ask you about when they're in class?
Oh my gosh. Well, they're so cute and aware and profound. Mostly, I think one of the things that resonates with me most is when I ask them what part of the class did they like best. And it's so interesting. It's not the movement. It's not the crazy poses. It's lying down in a self-guided meditation, which
Wow.
my adult students is their worst nightmare. Right? They're like, Lori, that was the worst. I mean, I did it, but I did not find that comfortable. Where the kids, hands down, the odd one will love like a cat or a cow or an animal pose, but primarily their most, their biggest treat would be the lying down guided meditation.
I think for adults, when I'm lying down, I'm thinking, I've got to shop. What did I do for dinner? I feel like your mind just goes a 100 different ways. So it's hard just to bring it together and be grateful, I guess, or be kind or mindful. To be mindful. What is it to be mindful, Lori?
Okay, well, that is an amazing question. And the simplest way to think about mindfulness is just being in the present moment. So to what you just said, when you're thinking about all the things that you have to do, that is taking you outside of the present moment. So mindful is just, a big part of being mindful is not judging when you're not in the present moment. Right. So to be kind to yourself and say, okay, it's okay that I'm not here right now, but I'm going to try to get back here. And then one other little thing that I like to point out when practicing mindfulness is it's really nice to have a tool to anchor yourself. So what I would offer usually is breath. So an inhale and an exhale, or a mantra, or something that can bring you back when you are leaving the present moment.
So Margot, I've known you a long time, and I want to tell a lovely story about you. We have a mutual friend, and there was an event at my house, and I hadn't met Margot yet, and she came in with a book, this beautiful book, and I really didn't know too much about her other than she was fantastic and fun from our friend, which indeed she was. And she brought it over and had it signed by her beautiful children and herself to my daughter. And I thought, wow, I need to be this woman's friend fast. I just love like a hostess gift like this that is meaningful, and we've been friends ever since. So Margot, tell me, how has this book changed your life and other people's lives? Because when I think about it and I read it to my daughter nightly for years, and it's still relevant no matter how old you are. And I love that. It's timeless.
It has changed my life in ways I could never, ever have anticipated. I had just, as I said, thought, wouldn't it be great to have a tool? And then you start getting into the publishing process, and then all of a sudden you have thousands of books. And you really don't have a plan, because what she really wanted was just to share this, what I think is a really incredibly important message. So, and all of a sudden, and literally all of a sudden by word of mouth, it became a speaking tour. And the highlight of my speaking tour to date was after I had gone through Mummy Am I Pretty, and I tell the boys, you know, this is pink because I wrote it with my daughters, they did the artwork, but the message is really for everyone. And so we go through what makes somebody a beautiful person. And, you know, were you brave? Were you kind? Were you strong in situations? And this one little girl came up to me at the end, and she just stood next to me. And she said, "Ma'am, I just really want to thank you for writing the book, because I've never thought that I was pretty. But now that you've taken the time to explain to me what pretty is, I think I might be, and I just want to give you a hug." And honest to God, that was a life-changing moment. And it was very, very early. And I just thought, if this is the road to getting that type of feedback, to changing that one person at a time and their view of themselves, then I'm on the right road. And ever since then, whenever I turn up to any speaking engagement, any opportunity that I get to speak to adults and children about the message, I think when I pull up, if I can impact one person and the way that they look at themselves, then my job here is done. And honestly, it has been so rewarding. Even when I speak to grade 7s and 8s, and I'll gear my talks, because obviously it looks like a children's book, but the message is really from everyone from age 4 to age 104, because it really is pertinent to adults and children. And one of the things I've had the cool grade 8 boys stop and go, "Really liked your message, ma'am," as they run through the gym to make sure that nobody saw them actually talking to the woman that wears pink in that pink book. So, you know what, it's just been amazing. And I just don't think that we can share the messages enough. And what really propels me forward to continue to do this work is when I see the feedback, when I see kids' bodies physically change and be receptive and start to think, okay, I think I got this. What she's saying, I did that. You know, I play hockey. I love hockey. I'm actually really good at hockey. And, you know, a funny story about that too. At one point I was going on about, you know, it's important to try out for teams, even if you don't make the team. The important thing is that you try out, you try your best. So then I went on to say about, you know, it's okay, you don't have to be the captain, whatever. So I get to the end of the book and I said, okay, what did everybody learn about the book? And of course, a couple people put their hands up and said, "I learned that beauty comes from your heart." And I'm like, yes, that's right, absolutely. Perfect. And the you know, similar type things, I learned that kindness, it's all about kindness, and if kindness will make me beautiful. And I'm like, absolutely. And then little Ivan in the back puts his hands up, and I said, "Yeah, what did you learn about Mummy Am I Pretty?" He said, "I learned that if I don't make the Canadian hockey team, that's okay. I can always try out for the US team, and that's going to work out fine." And I'm like, okay, Ivan, that's where I left you. Okay, that's okay.
And Ivan will be playing for both, probably, right? Yeah, moonlighting in both. And that's,
you know, that's what he took from the book. Okay, we're good. It was funny.
And so obviously the girls had a fantastic book. And I know a lot of the boys said, "Where's the book that's geared to me?" So you obliged.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, similar message, but it incorporates boys. And that was always the last question whenever I left a school.
Yeah.
Was, when are you going to write a boys book? So with the help of my daughter's pediatrician that knew of Mummy Am I Pretty, believed in the book, and also he'd raised sons, his wife said, "Well, David does some art, so his art is incorporated in the message for boys," and it's worked out really well.
And so Lori, so Margot writes all these books, and then one day you're together and she says, "You have to write a book," right? And you do, because when Margot tells you to write a book, you write a book, correct?
That's what happens.
Right? So Margot, what do you got for me? What am I doing? Well, give me a job. I don't know if I can write this well. I'm just gonna interview all you great writers. How's that? So
you found your calling, Annie.
Tell me about the magic of a unicorn and how it pertains to kids.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. So will we know?
I love it when you say that.
So we know unicorns are magical and powerful. And we know that children relate to the sort of magical, powerful aspects of unicorns. So I loved that sort of concept when thinking about what I'm going to use for the book. But funnily enough, is one of the women who I taught with, who I hired. I have a yoga business. So who was one of the women that worked with us. Yep. She always wears unicorns on her t-shirts. And this is true. This is written in the book. And so we called her Unicorn Katie. She was just one of those people that just shone. And when she walked into the auditorium to teach the kids ran to her. And she was just like, just so special, magical. So magical. So that's how I came up with Unicorn Katie. And it's the story takes place in a yoga and meditation mindfulness class in a school. So I was able to just write it from the heart because these are all the stories of all the children that I've worked with. But what is so funny is that one of my most special teaching arrangements was at Lord Dufferin's school, which is downtown. It was through this company called First Book. Yeah. And I'm there and we have the TD sponsoring the event. And so I get up to the front and I'm not kidding. 4 of the kids had unicorn t-shirts on.
That's sweet.
So they just went nuts when the book was called Unicorn Katie, and we were able to go through some of the exercises, and all the adult people from TD were doing all of the poses with all of the children. And it just, it made me feel so good to know that I went with the unicorn and it just, it worked and it resonated. And there were all these beautiful children wearing their unicorn shirts. And it blew me away. It was like one of the most incredible days and experiences of my life. And I've had a lot. I'm old.
We're not old. We're good. We're just good. Yeah. We're just good. Let's go with that. So you two are good friends. You write a book because Margot tells you to write a book. And then boom, now you've created a workshop, an amazing workshop that you go around to schools and different organizations where you use these 2 incredible, powerful tools to make kids empowered, to make them aware, to make them confident, to make them beautiful inside. Tell me about these workshops and how I know how it came about, but now what are we going to do with this and empower the whole world of kids?
And now we're just trying to figure out how we can do it. What we have decided, what we think the best way to share our message to, as you say, I love you, Annie, for saying to the world,
to the world,
to the universe.
Such an awesome momentum. We were completely pumped. It was February 2020 and we're going, okay, here we go. And the sign-up sheets, I still have them. They're 50.
The good old days. Do you remember the good old days?
Yeah. 20 pages of people going, I want the workshop. Because as we know, February 2020, mental health for children was important. Now, more than ever, it is so important. And the beautiful part about what Lori's messages and what my messages and how they complement one another is fantastic because, when you're working on self-image and self-esteem and all of the great things that you do for yourself, it ties in so nicely with the anxiety that they're feeling now. And especially after, as we're dealing, hopefully, with the outset of COVID. So our messages truly do complement one another, and it's been great and so far extremely well received. We're just anxious to get our material shared with the world. Love it.
And it couldn't be any more timely, really. If it was needed in February 2020, it is 100-fold more needed now. I think people being home and like to your point, the anxiety and not feeling themselves, just to get them back to sort of a baseline of feeling confident and loved, loving themselves and loving their lives. I feel like that. So I wish you continued luck. And ladies, thanks for being the leaders in promoting kindness through words, through yoga, and teaching us that strength, beauty, and kindness come from within. And this is where entertainment and charity meet.